Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another segment of the After the Buzzer show. Today, we'll be talking about the Dallas Cowboys and our prediction for their schedule for the 2023-24 NFL season. We did the Giants last video, so if you haven't already, go check that out. We had a couple, different takes that we thought were interesting over there. I'm sure it'll be the same for the Cowboys. So, we're just going to get right into it here and start off with their first game, which is a game we've already talked about because it's the Giants. It's in New York. And if you watch that video, you'll know. But Cooper and I had the Giants taking this one. Graham had the Cowboys. Our disagreement on this was that Graham really is just a pessimist. He thinks that the Giants have yet to get over that hump for the Cowboys. And I think that's a fair assessment. I think it's definitely possible. But because we've already talked about that, I kind of want to start in week 2, which is they're back home against the New York Jets. So, Cooper, why don't you just start us off here? What are you expecting for this game at home against the Jets?
Yeah, Brian, I think the Cowboys might actually be able to come away with this one. I think it might be a tough game with Aaron Rodgers starting for the Jets, but with the Cowboys being at home, I think they do have a chance to take this away as for a second game, even especially coming off what, as I predicted, a loss in week 1. I think they're definitely going to need a win in the first few weeks, and I think this could be their win other than in against the Cardinals.
Obviously, same as the thing said about the Giants. I do think that it would be interesting to see how the Jets do with a new starting quarterback at the helm with Aaron Rodgers. Obviously, I think that the fact that this game is in Dallas, the Jets might still, have some things kinks they got to work out. Might not be the most polished thing ever. I think I got to take the Cowboys in this one. I think they're just the more ready team for week 2.
I kind of like the Jets here. I know it's a hot take. I know I could look stupid in a few months from now, but the Jets, or Aaron Rodgers specifically, has been really bad in week 1. And I feel like he's not going to go into to start out his career in New York. I think he's going to come out after losing week 1 because I think they played the Bills in week 1. That's obviously a harder game, or to me, I think that's a harder game than the Cowboys. So I think even though they're on the road, I do believe the Jets take this one in Dallas. And that's unfortunate for the Cowboys. This is a game they should win if they're at home against the Jets. But the good news is I think they get, they go on the road, but I think that they take week 3's game, which is against the Cardinals. Cardinals to me are not, going to be a particularly difficult team for almost anyone in the league to play. But I think especially the Cowboys with, a consistently high flying offense, I really don't see how they lose this game.
I have to agree here. I think that Cardinals, I don't know, maybe a 4 win team. I think like 6-7 at best. I think the Cowboys just, they got the talent to win this game. I don't see a single player. I mean, maybe Byron Ruffer Jr., but I don't really see a single player covering like their great trio. I'm gonna say with Michael Gallup at receiver. Dak Prescott knows how to get those guys the ball most of the time. The Cardinals have shown that they can't really stop the run. So I mean, with Colt McCoy at quarterback, they just can't handle this Cowboys offense.
Yeah, Graham, I have to agree. I can't see the Cardinals winning this game in any scenario. I feel like they've only lost players in this offseason, and it's not looking good, like a good season for the Cardinals, and this should be an easy win for the Cowboys.
That's what I think too. So we're all in agreement on that. Graham, what about game 4? They are back home for that one, but they're playing the Patriots, which I think Patriots themselves aren't too scary, but they're always competitive in these games.
I think that it really depends on how the Patriots offense really comes together this year. Cowboys score a lot of points. I mean, not consistently, but at their best, they do score a lot of points. I'm gonna pick the Patriots in this one. I think this is like a battle of Bill Belichick will just end up out coaching Mike McCarthy. You've seen in games where the Cowboys go up against a team with a great coach. Obviously, Bill Belichick is one of those people. Mike McCarthy just seems to get out coached and make dumb decisions when they shouldn't. I just think the Patriots, I just don't see the Cowboys getting off to a 4-0 start. I think the Patriots are going to win this game, and maybe shock some people.
I don't know about that one, Graham. I mean, I think the Patriots are a fine team. I don't really think they're in a playoff contention, but I think they're a fine team. But it's in Dallas, and the issue that I have with the argument is that you're saying Belichick can outcoach McCarthy, and I think he will. But I also don't think Mike McCarthy is a good coach, and I think almost on any given Sunday he'll get outcoached. So, yes, Belichick, obviously a great coach, got to respect his ability to come up with strategies prior to the game. I don't think the Patriots have the talent to take on the Cowboys, especially early in the season. If it were a playoff game and, there was, I guess, more nerves and more stake to it, I could see the upside for picking the Patriots here. But in a week 4 game in Dallas, I like the Cowboys.
Yeah, I have to agree with Ryan on this one. I don't think the Patriots can pull away, even with the coaching that they have and being better with their coaching against the Cowboys. I think being home, the Cowboys being home, and everything, the Patriots just can't win this.
Cooper, what do you think about their next game in San Francisco? Kind of playoff rematch.
I think that Cowboys being away here, I think the 49ers are going to take this. The Cowboys, if I predicted correctly, just came off a 3-game winning streak, and now they're on the road. I don't think they're going to be able to take this win. Ryan, what do you have to say?
I mean, that's kind of what I think too. But to be more specifically, I think the Cowboys can have a really hard time stopping San Francisco. We talked about this in the Giants podcast too, but we're likely going to see Sam Darnold at the helm for the Niners early in the season. And so in an early October game, you'd expect that to be the case. I do think that Dak is obviously a better quarterback than Sam Darnold, so I think the Cowboys are going to be in this game. But the problem for the Cowboys is that, when push comes to shove, Niners defense is going to make plays. We know that. And they're going to have to, be able to at some point get a big stop. And the Niners, obviously, Sam Darnold's not ideal, but the problem for anyone trying to stop the Niners is that they have so many options, and Shanahan is, despite all of his flaws, a very skilled offensive play caller. I think he's someone that the Niners can trust to, get them out of these situations. I think, between having Deebo Samuel and Christian McCaffrey, even guys like Brandon Ayuk, obviously George Kittle, they have a lot of pieces they can move around the board on offense. And can Mike McCarthy handle that? I don't think so. So I think it's a close game, but I like the Niners here.
I like the Niners here too. Yeah, I think that the Cowboys did have some times where they did struggle with the running game last year. Obviously, up front, they did try to improve. They did look in the draft for some defensive tackles, but I think that Christian McCaffrey is hard guy to stop. Obviously, possibly if not the best running back in the NFL, one of the best. And you've just seen in past games. I don't want to harp on this like Mike McCarthy thing, but Mike McCarthy continues to seem to be outcoached, especially in games against the 49ers. The 49ers just seem to have the Cowboys' number. So I think that, yeah, like you said, that the Cowboys can keep this game close. But I think when push comes to shove, like you said, this will be a 49ers victory. I want to look into their next matchup against the Chargers. I actually like the Chargers in this one. I think these are obviously two high-flying offenses. Obviously, the Chargers are at home, but that doesn't really mean anything. The Cowboys were still, 80-20 in that crowd. I think Justin Herbert's more consistent quarterback than Dak Prescott. I think maybe both these quarterbacks will throw 1 or 2 interceptions this game. I think it's like which team makes the least amount of mistakes, and I honestly just see the Chargers making the least amount of mistakes in this game.
I mean, that's kind of a bold prediction. I get that last part. The Chargers, to me, I think are definitely a team, defined by mistakes. But in all seriousness, yeah, the Cowboys kind of got lucky here because they get this game counted as an away game, which is not really the case. But again, I like the Chargers more than the Cowboys in general. I think Justin Herbert is a significantly better quarterback than Dak Prescott. I'm not necessarily anti-Dak, but I think Herbert is going to just really, put on a show and prove, that he's a class above someone like Dak. I also think that defensively, the Cowboys are, like I said to the 49ers, the Chargers have so many pieces they can work with. I think it's just going to be too much for them. I think they lose this game in a shootout.
Yeah, I totally agree, Ryan. I can't see the Cowboys winning this away game. And then going to Cowboys, a home game with the Cowboys versus the Rams, I'm taking the Cowboys. It's a home game versus the Rams. I can't see the Rams doing very well this season. They haven't been very good since their Super Bowl appearance after winning their Super Bowl. So I got to take the Cowboys here.
Yeah, that's what I think too. I mean, they're at home. The Rams, I don't know what to expect from them this year, but I don't think it'll be too much. So not much to it to me. I like the Cowboys here.
I like the Cowboys here too. Same thing with you guys. I think that the Cowboys have shown that they have ability to drop some of these games just kind of randomly throughout the season, but I don't really see this being too close of a matchup. I want to move on to a big game in Philadelphia. Looks to be an afternoon game. I like Philadelphia in this one. I think that this is likely a series that will be split. I don't want to give anything away for my later season predictions for the Cowboys, but I think this is two very close teams. Philadelphia is a great home crowd. I just like Philadelphia in this one. I think that they have the Cowboys number, especially at home.
Yeah, I agree, Graham. I think the Eagles being home, and I do think the Eagles are going to take the NFC this division, and they're going to be able to beat the Cowboys, especially because they're coming off a strong run last season, and I do believe they're the stronger team. What do you think, Ryan?
I think the Cowboys take it. I mean, I can't it's just sorcery. I can't really back it up, but the Cowboys are winning this game. I don't really know why, but they are. That's all there is to it.
Yeah,
but
I mean, I don't know.
That's a little crazy, but
no. I mean, you guys can come back to this on November 5th at 8:00 when I'm right, but it's just I just know it's going to happen. I also know that Graham's a little upset because this is where he has to admit that the Cowboys sweep the Giants, unfortunately, for his prediction at least.
Yeah, for my prediction. I like I said in the Giants video. Go back and see if you want to watch through those predictions. The Cowboys haven't lost to the Giants in what seems like an eternity. Maybe this is a fan bias here. The Giants just don't seem to have the athletes to match up with the Cowboys year after year. I mean, you guys could disagree, but in Dallas, I didn't even think they were going to win in New York. I mean, I don't know how much home field advantage matters in the NFL, but I think that this is going to be a pretty solid victory for the Cowboys. I see the Cowboys score in the 30s, Giants maybe in the teens. I think this will be a not so nice game to watch as a Giants fan.
Graham, I do agree that the Cowboys are going to win, but I think the Giants might be able to make it a closer game than you think. And I also believe the Giants are going to win the first game against the Cowboys, especially since it's a home game and it's a big game, saying it's the season opener. But Ryan, what do you think?
I mean, I talked about this in the Giants podcast. I think that the Cowboys and Giants are decently evenly matched. Obviously, the Cowboys are the better team of the two, but I picked the Giants to win week 1 in New York. I like the Cowboys to win in Dallas. I also like the Cowboys to win their next game, which is in Carolina. Obviously, we're all excited to see how Bryce Young does in the NFL, but we don't know if he'll be playing this game. I would assume he would by this point in the season, but either way, can't predict the Panthers to win. We just don't know what they're going to look like. And generally speaking, teams, with a rookie quarterback are still in the midst of rebuilds. So I like the Cowboys to win it pretty easily in Carolina.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing about if Bryce Young is going to be in the lineup. I think I have to go with the Cowboys here. I really want to pick the Panthers here. I really like Bryce Young, but I just don't think they're ready to win against these bigger teams, more elite, I guess you could say, for the Cowboys teams. I have to pick the Cowboys here. I just my heart, I want to pick Carolina here, but there's just something that tells me that they just don't have the firepower to win a game against Dallas at this point in the season.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think the Cowboys I don't think the Panthers even at home could beat the Cowboys. Bryce Young could be like a standout star, but from what it seems right now, I don't think the Panthers could take this in any way. Going to their next game, Cowboys versus the Commanders, I have to take the Cowboys again. The Cowboys are home in this game, and I think the Commanders are going to be the bottom of this division. And I do think the Commanders are going to do decently well, but I still think they're going to be at the bottom of the division. The Cowboys could easily beat them here.
Yeah, that's kind of what I think too, especially because it's at home. I really don't think this game would be too much of a problem for the Cowboys. Obviously, you never want to make assumptions about divisional games. They're never, ever, games you should take for granted. But yeah, I mean, I don't see how the Cowboys would manage to lose this game. I like Sam Howell. I think he's going to do all right, but clearly not the offense in Washington's clearly not ready to go head to head with the Cowboys.
I would have to agree there. I like the Commanders. I think that Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson is a great duo. I Curtis Samuel, like just a lot of weapons on this team. But I think that the Cowboys and the Commanders, the Cowboys just seem to be a level above Commanders defense, for all the talent has struggled at times. And once again, they just don't seem to have it's like you said, Ryan, it's super hard to pick divisional games, but there's a lot more of a track record for these teams against each other. I don't see a lot of differences between these two teams. They kept the roster generally the same from last year to this year, and it just seems like the Cowboys have uh, the superior team to a point where the Commanders can get close, but just not over the hump. And moving on to Cowboys Seahawks at home, Ryan, you're gonna like this one. I honestly have the Seahawks winning this one. I think this is gonna be a close one, probably a shootout. I like the Seahawks defense, but not that much. I think that I like DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett's, have some big games here. I don't love the secondary of the Cowboys, especially Trayvon Diggs. I think that I like the Seahawks in this one. Like I said, the Cowboys' run defense seems to struggle. Kenneth Walker might have a 100+ rush yards in this game, so maybe a little upset one, just like I had with the Patriots back early in the season. But I like the Seahawks in this one.
I disagree, Graham. I think that the Cowboys are actually going to take this away. I think they're coming off strong with a 3-game win streak if my predictions are correct, and I think that's going to help them a lot. Plus, they're at home. I think the Seahawks just aren't. I think it's going to be a really close game, but I think in the end, the Cowboys are just going to come out on top.
I unfortunately have to agree with Cooper here. The Seahawks, to me, I'm not too worried about them next season. I think they're going to be pretty similar to what they were last season, but they're on the road. And like Graham said, this game is going to be a shootout, which I'm fine with. Our offense last year was pretty effective. We won a couple of shootouts, especially that 48-45 game against Detroit. But the problem I think that we have here is that I don't know if I'm going to buy Geno over Dak. I like Geno a lot. I'm excited that we, brought him back, but you're on the road. You're playing a Cowboys team that has, won many shootouts over the past 5-6 years. And again, the great thing about the Cowboys is that they've kept their core, they've kept together, really since 2018. But not Zeke, but specifically Dak. And obviously, we can argue about what qualifies the core of a team. But Dak has been the quarterback of this team since 2016, and I think the main between guys like Gallup and CD Lamb and Prescott, they've been together for 3, 4, 5 years in some cases. And so I think we know what they're like. We know they can win shootouts. The Geno Smith Seahawks are great at winning. They were great at winning shootouts last year, and I think they're going to do it to an extent this year. But I don't know if I can look at, the odds of what you'd expect from Geno on any given night and what you'd expect from Dak on any given night and say, I like Geno. I think it's a close game. I think it's going to come down to the wire. I think it will be high scoring, but I think if I'm being objective here, I have to take the Cowboys. And it pains me to say that. I hope Graham's right because I hate the Cowboys as much as, or almost as much as you guys do. They're not in my division, so probably a bit less, but I'd still like to beat them on, I think, Sunday Night Football. But either way, if the Seahawks can't get it done, that's all right because I think the Cowboys, they come home and they lose to the Eagles. And obviously, I picked them to beat the Eagles in Philadelphia. I think we're seeing kind of a backward split here. I don't know why. It's just what I'm hearing in my head. So I like the Cowboys to lose this game, even though they're at home, and I think it's disappointing for them. But what can I say?
I have to go with Dallas here. Like I said at the beginning, I thought this is maybe a season split. Even with Cooper Rush last year, the Cowboys, pulled off that crazy victory against Philadelphia. I like this. I like this Dallas team against Philadelphia. I like what they do. They can stretch the field. Philly defense really relies on their run defense. Obviously, their front seven is amazing. Who they have there, I still like it, even though they lost like T.J. Edwards, players like that. Their secondary is kind of older on the older side. Bradbury and Darius Slay are in their early 30s. I like this Dallas team to put up a lot of points, and then I hope that their rush defense holds up. Obviously, Philly's rushing game is spectacular, but I have to take Dallas in this one.
I disagree, Graham. I think that Cowboys are actually going to lose here. I think coming off this 4-game win streak, even with all this momentum coming, I still think the Eagles are going to be able to beat them. I think they've been playing teams that are a lot worse. I don't think they're going to be prepared enough to face this Eagles team when they're coming off games with teams like the Panthers and Commanders, who and all four of the teams they just played and won. I don't think they are somewhat like some of the teams are like closing in on the Eagles, but I don't think they're close enough yet to be able to beat the Eagles, and I don't think the Cowboys are going to be ready for that.
All right, so moving on to their next game in Buffalo. The Buffalo's going to lose a couple games here, but I don't think that this is going to be one of them. I think that in Buffalo, maybe in Dallas, I would have picked the Cowboys, but Bills Mafia getting late in the season, last 4 games of the season, they're going to be loud. Josh Allen, you hope kicks into high gear. I just don't I don't see a way in which Dallas, realistically pulls off this victory. I think their big win is going to be Philly the week before. They're going to be tired. They're going to be, they had that whole grind against Philadelphia. So I have to pick Buffalo in this one. I think that's just more like the more realistic option here.
That's what I think too. I just don't see, especially in the game is on December 17th. It's in the afternoon. I don't see a team from Dallas, Texas going into Buffalo, which is one of, if that's, top 3 coldest stadiums in the NFL, if I had to guess. And it's mid-December. You're coming off, a hard game in Philadelphia, whether you win or lose. Doesn't seem like recipes for success to me. Obviously, they can win. They're a good enough team to win almost any game they play. But you're in Buffalo against Josh Allen and the Bills, who are likely to be in a competitive division race with Miami, potentially the Jets. Give me the Bills here.
Yeah, I have to agree with both of you. I think this home field advantage, like it usually doesn't do that much, but I think with it being in December, I think this stadium's going to be cold, and I don't think the Cowboys are prepared, especially coming off the Eagles game, which is definitely going to tire them out a lot. But then going into Cowboys Dolphins, what do you guys think?
I kind of like the Dolphins here. Again, I don't want to pick it too much against the Cowboys because I've had them losing 3 in a row. This is a rough stretch because they've got to play the Eagles and then go to Buffalo and Miami. The good thing for them about playing the Dolphins is that they don't like going to Miami in general isn't fun, but going in September as an NFL team is horrible because it's so hot. They get to at least play them in December where the temperature is a lot more mild, and I think that does actually help. I know they're from Texas, but I think that, again, having that weather be more mild and more normal, like more used to and more what you're used to is helpful. I still think they lose this game, but it's a good time to play in Miami because I think it gives them the best chance. I also want to note that it depends entirely on whether, Tua is still playing here. Obviously, I really hope he doesn't get injured. It would be horrible if he got another concussion after all he went through last season. But the expectation is that Tua is going to get injured a lot if he does, play consistently this upcoming season. And so I think if Tua doesn't play, I like Dallas, but I would really hope he plays. And I'm assuming he's going to play just because he's playing right now. I like the Dolphins.
I have to disagree with you, Ryan. I can't see the Cowboys going on a 3-game losing streak. I just don't see that happening. I also think with them going to this Dolphin Stadium, I think this is going to be a big relief for them after coming off the Bills Stadium, which is going to be a high chance it's going to be freezing there and they're just going to be miserable there. I think this is going to be like a lot better for them. And I do think the Cowboys can beat this Dolphin team a lot more easily than the Eagles or Bills, as which they came off of. So I think they're prepared for a Dolphins game.
Yeah, I like the Cowboys in this one, actually. I have to agree with you there, Cooper. Well, I do see your point, Ryan. I actually don't expect Tua to miss this game. I don't know. You don't want to expect any players to miss any games, but maybe, even if he doesn't get hurt, they want to limit his chances to get hurt. This could be a game where he just sits. I know it's an important game at a quarterback position. You don't exactly want him to play Micah Parsons. So I have to expect I don't want to expect Tua to be out, but I think there's a high chance. And even if Tua plays, the Dolphins' offense can be spotty at times. Their defense can be spotty at times. I think the Cowboys just bring a level of consistency the Dolphins haven't found yet. So I do like the Cowboys in this game. I think moving on to the Lions game, I'm actually going to take the Lions in this one, surprisingly. I think that this can be a game where Amon-Ra St. Brown breaks loose, spreads the field out. They're not a big running team. I think that Jared Goff is good at getting the ball out. He threw the ball short a lot of checkdowns, but his snap to throw time was fantastic last year. Doesn't get sacked a lot. Doesn't make a ton of mistakes like he did in the past. I like the Lions in this game.
I don't know about that one. I mean, the Lions are definitely a good team for sure. I mean, like I am betting on them a lot this season, but I also like it's in Dallas. I don't know how ready the Lions are for that moment because I think we all think they're going to be in playoff contention like they were this year, but to an even better or an even greater extent next year because they likely won't start off 1-7. And so if they're headed to Dallas and it's kind of a game where if they win, it has big playoff implications, I don't know if I like the Lions in that situation. I just can't see it, and it's in Dallas, so I'll take the Cowboys, although it is an even matchup.
Yeah, I also have to take the Cowboys on this one, especially being home and everything, being one of the last games in the season. I think both teams are going to be tired, but I think the Cowboys are going to be a little more prepared, and I just see the Cowboys taking this. So going to the last game of the season against the Commanders, who do you guys take on this one?
I like the Cowboys in this game. Obviously, like we were talking about all the precedents for these divisional games. Like Ryan said, hard to predict. I don't want to harp on what I was talking about. The same thing with the Commanders last time the Cowboys played them. The Cowboys, I think, from my predictions, they most likely have a lot to play for in this situation. Wild card seeding, everything. I expect the Commanders to be a 7-8 win team this year. I don't think they'll be playing for as much. I expect the Cowboys to go all out. The Commanders obviously want to play spoiler, but I think if the Cowboys need it, then they'll be able to push through and get this victory week 18.
Yeah, I agree, Graham. I think the Cowboys are going to take this last game, and the Commanders aren't going to be able to win this. I have the Cowboys going 2-0 against the Commanders.
That's what I'm at too. I think the Commanders aren't horrible. Like they're not the worst team, like generally speaking, but they're also not ready to compete with the Cowboys, I think, especially with Sam Howell at quarterback, who again I don't dislike, but to me just not really in the same league as Dak Prescott and those guys like CeeDee Lamb and whatnot. So I do like the Cowboys to win this one, especially because I think this will have important playoff implications. And so that puts all of us equal, although we did, predict different outcomes in different games. We all had the Cowboys finishing 10-7, which likely wouldn't win them the division, but would probably put them in good position to win a wild card slot. So again, thank you guys so much for listening, Cooper and Graham. Thank you guys so much for being here. It was good.
Yep, thank you.
Thanks so much.
All right, see you guys in the next episode.